Throughout the day tomorrow. We're going to track those showers and let you know how much to expect coming up in just a few minutes. Fox 44 News starts right now.
Tonight at 9, protests continue as the new immigration housing facility opens near the Texas-Mexico border. What Central Texans are doing to make their voices heard.
And after Governor Greg Abbott reveals his plan for safety at Texas schools, Waco ISD officials meet to talk about what the district can do to keep students and staff safe.
Also, a witness describes the moment a car plows into a Temple home. Hear how those homeowners are now doing.
Live from Waco, Temple, and Killeen, your news now. This is Fox 44 News at 9.
Not apologize for the job we do or for the job law enforcement does for doing the job that the American people expect us to do. It is important to note that these minors are very well taken care of. Don't believe the press.
The Trump administration not backing down on its claim that Democrats are to blame for the separation of families at the border. This comes after Attorney General Jeff Sessions enacted a zero-tolerance immigration policy. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight on Fox 44 News at 9. I'm Leslie Rangel.
And I'm Robert Burns. So since the announcement of that policy, a number of children have been separated from their parents and placed in immigration facilities all across South Texas. That
latest facility opening in Tornillo, about 45 minutes outside of El Paso. And tonight we're getting our first look inside. Daniel Martin reports.
This is not okay. A day after demonstrators marched to the Tornillo tent city, pictures from within the makeshift immigration detention facility released by the Department of Health and Human Services. Congressman Will Hurd, who represents the Tornillo area, says it's mostly teen boys being held here, boys who came to the U.S. alone, untouched by that controversial policy separating families, but still very much on their own. The photos show a dining hall with folding chairs, a medical unit, outside soccer fields, and bunk beds, 20 boys per tent. The images, however, are in noticeable contrast to the other immigration facilities we saw over the weekend, some with dorm-like sleeping quarters and children watching movies. Congressman Hurd says the boys in Tornillo are getting 3 meals a day and 2 snacks and appear to be doing well. But El Paso State Rep Cesar Blanco says
we could do better as a country.
Blanco has requested a tour of his own.
It's not a Republican issue and it's not a Democratic issue. It's Americans' values issue. We've already seen the UN notify the United States that there are potential human rights violations. That's embarrassing.
Former First Lady Laura Bush pens an op-ed condemning the Trump administration's immigration policy, separating parents from children at the border. Now, the Washington Post piece calls the move cruel and immoral. Before this, Bush has typically never weighed in on politics since her husband left office.
And here in Central Texas, local church leaders and immigrant groups tonight are preparing for the Waco Stands for Children rally tomorrow. Organizers say they will gather at Heritage Square for a peaceful protest. They'll then march to U.S. Representative Bill Flores' office to deliver a written statement asking for the immediate end to the separation of children from their families. That rally is scheduled to begin at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And later on in the newscast, we'll tell you what you need to know about Texas lawmakers who right now are in D.C. working as protests over family separations on the border continue.
A Waco ISD town hall meeting addressing school safety and security wrapping up just about an hour ago.
Maribel Santiago joins us now from the city's multi-purpose center. Maribel, what topics were discussed this evening?
Well, Robert and Leslie, dozens of parents actually stood up to speak about the various topics such as the recent school shootings, staff and student services, and even talking about armed staff. And that's just some of many of the topics addressed tonight. Now, more than 100 people showed up at this facility to address those issues in relation to school shootings across the nation. Now, we spoke to one of those parents who hope this conversation is just one of many more within the district. Now, Superintendent Dr. Marcus Nelson also attended tonight's meeting, and he recently attended a state roundtable following the Santa Fe High School shooting, which happened exactly a month ago. He wanted to bring what was addressed at the state level here to the community. Now, coming up at the half hour, we'll have a wrap up of tonight's meeting and what the district and the discussions they have in store coming up next week.
All right, thank you, Maribel. Meanwhile, Midway High School students could be forced to take a drug test. That is if they want to drive to school and continue to do so. School board leaders are expected to vote on the proposal tomorrow. Right now, the district randomly tests students taking part in extracurricular programs, and it costs the district about $14,000 a year. The plan would now set an additional $5,000.
This particular drug testing policy casts a wider net to catch more kids that maybe have an issue, maybe haven't reported it, maybe parents haven't noticed.
Now, if a student tests positive for drugs, the district says they will not notify police. Instead, they'll work with social workers and counselors. And check out these photos after a driver loses control of a car in Temple and plowed into a light pole and then into a home with people still inside.
Very dramatic damage, but the homeowners are okay. And Fox 44's Kayla Kelly spoke with a woman who witnessed this whole crash.
Diana Carranza is still a bit shaken up.
We heard this big boom. And my first initial thought was that something blew up.
She was moving into her new home this afternoon when a black SUV crashed into the back of it.
And all of a sudden, we saw the house literally shake, and I thought it was gonna fall down.
Temple police say the driver lost control, hitting a light pole and then the house on South Main Street. Crews shut down nearby Avenue H for several hours to fix some of the damage.
Just smashed right into the house, and I thought the people were dead.
The driver and passenger walked away with minor injuries.
The driver was hurt the most. The other guys were just shook up.
The crash impact threw off the building's foundation, destroying an air conditioning unit. The property owners are still estimating the exact cost of damage. Carranza says she's just happy everyone is okay.
That God was watching over them today, because there's no way they should have lived.
In Temple, Kayla Kelly, Fox 44 News.
A 49-year-old Cedar Park man turning himself into Harker Heights police today for shooting a 75-year-old man on Friday. Police responding to that man who had been shot on Illinois Drive. The victim was found bleeding after being shot in the leg on the sidewalk, telling police that he was returning home from shopping, and then when he entered the house, he was shot by someone already inside. That elderly man is still being treated at Baylor Scott & White.
A hospital in Lubbock is training for mass casualty situations with an AMBUS. The hospital is just one of 14 across the state to have a bus to respond to large crisis situations. UMC in Lubbock says they're preparing to treat patients in the city as well as across the state. The bus has traveled to Hurricane Harvey and is equipped to handle nearly any crisis situation.
So our bus can hold 21 patients lying flat, 27 sitting up, all of them with blood pressure monitoring, oxygen, heart monitor. We even have a ventilator on board, so if we need to provide artificial respirations for a period of time, we can get that done.
Hospital officials say training is going well, but they did catch a few things that could potentially slow them down. They'll continue to work on those in the future so they are ready at any moment's notice.
All right, still to come at 9 o'clock, a morning fire leaves a Waco home charred. Tonight, the family is left looking for a place to stay.
The man takes off with a computer that was on display at a store. Not one person noticed, but we'll tell you how he managed to get caught.
And the brother of a local man killed during a weekend hit-and-run crash. Speaking to Fox 44 tonight, the Family Focus next.
This is Fox 44 News at 9 with Leslie Rangel, Robert Burns, AMS certified chief meteorologist Mike LaPointe, and sports with Matt Roberts.
Fox 44 Central Texas.